Well, another day of the Paris Olympics is almost coming to an end, and we've started off on a very historic note with Manu Bhaker winning yet another medal, becoming thereby the first woman to win two Olympic medals for India in the same Olympics, and the second Indian athlete to win two medals in the same edition. The first time it happened, that happened way back in 1900 when the guy who won it, Norman Pritchard, he wasn't even aware that he was competing for India. And obviously, because there was no India back in 1900. But finally, we've had somebody who's won two medals, that is Manu Bhaker. To discuss all of that, we are going to have Mihir Vasavda joining us from Paris, and we have Vinayakk Mohanarangan joining us from Delhi. This is our special Pod of the Rings episode where we talk about the day gone by at the Paris Olympics and the day to follow tomorrow. Before I come to Vinayakk, I think I should go to Mihir first. Mihir, first of all, can you just talk about the significance of Manu winning two medals at the same Olympics? I mean, I don't even want to say rare, it's just historic, right?
It hasn't. In independent India's history, it hasn't happened before. And especially when you look at the time gap between at least the two bronze medals, individual bronze medals that India won. It was 44 years in 10 Olympics. K.D. Jadhav in 1952, Leander Pace in 1996. 44 years India needed to win two individual Olympic medals. And here you have a 22-year-old girl from Haryana taken just 72 hours, 3 days to do that. So that is itself quite remarkable. And then when you go deeper into India's Olympic history, मतलब हमें पता है रोना धोना ही ज़्यादा हुआ है. It's always been a case of fourth place finisher है, उसे legend बना दिया हमने. People who haven't won medals are legends of Indian sport. And when you look at it like that, it becomes even more significant. The third point, athletes spend their entire life, their entire every living second, every breath they take is basically to win an Olympic medal or to be a kind of in contention to win at least one Olympic medal in their life. And then you have someone winning two in 3 days. Indian athletes नहीं करते ये मतलब we've never imagined an Indian athlete winning two medals at the same Olympics. We've seen other countries and हमने grudgingly admire किया है उन्हें. So for that to happen, I think is remarkable, the kind of composure and the impact this medal will have, I guess, guys. It'll be very similar to what, say, for example, Abhinav Bindra's gold medal had an impact in 2008, or when Sushil Kumar showed the entire country that it's possible to win not just one, but two Olympic medals. Or the way Neeraj Chopra, the dominance and the nonchalance with which he won the Tokyo gold medal. Manu Bhaker's medal will have that sort of an impact. And you could see that immediately within the Indian contingent at the Paris Olympics. I caught up with Satvik Sairaj Reddy immediately after his doubles match against the Indonesian pair. And you could just see how happy everyone was. He said that Manu's second medal, A, has spread a lot of positivity in the team. B, it has kind of instilled a faith in them that this is their time. And that's the kind of energy that's being sent out from 300 kilometers away and from Châteauroux to Paris.
Right. Just talk to us about Manu's partner as well, because the first medal that she won, the first bronze medal that she won was in the 10-meter individual air pistol event. This event that she's won a bronze medal in today was a 10-meter mixed team event where she combined with Sarabjot Singh. Now, I know there has been a lot of talk about how, Indian shooting has not delivered over the last two Olympics. But just look at Manu's age, just look at Sarabjot's age. Both of them are 22-year-olds. This future does seem promising. We probably don't want to read too much into it, but still, two 22-year-olds combining to win us an Olympic medal is not something that happens a whole lot for us. So, Mihir, just can you also talk about Sarabjot Singh? Were you expecting him to win a medal before the Olympics started? Just talk about Sarabjot for a minute.
He was. And Sarabjot is a very interesting person. Not for anything else, but just the personality that he is. And I'll come to that part again later. But Sarabjot, when I met him in Bhopal when the selection trials were going on in May, he was talking about how, since the time he started shooting, which is around when he was 14 or 15 years old, उसने उसके सारे जगह जहाँ पर उसकी सबसे पहले नजर पड़ती है सुबह उठकर, everything was covered in Olympic motifs. and science. So, say for example, his phone used to have Olympic medals. His gaming console, he's a big time gamer. So his gaming console had an Olympic medal ka wallpaper. The LED lights that, जो उसके gaming console पे था, वो उसने Olympic ring के colors में कर डाले थे. So that kind of obsessive he was. And he was totally shattered on Saturday after his qualification round, where he missed by a margin that, we can't see with human eye. Utna narrow tha margin. So for him to cover from that setback and come back and shoot the way he did yesterday, it's remarkable. And then to repeat it today again, I thought it was quite brilliant. And the pairing is quite fascinating too. Like Manu is someone, say for example, who likes riding horses. Sarabjot prefers fast cars. Manu plays violin. Sarabjot listens to Punjabi pop. I mean, Manu, for concentration, juggles 3 or 4 balls at a time. Sarabjot sits in a dark room and stares at a candle. So they're very opposite people, the two of them. But purely when it comes to shooting, they're both very uncluttered minds. And I think that is what got them through today. When Sarabjot was shooting low scores at the beginning, it was Manu who was kind of holding fort and getting the job done. And towards the end, when Manu had a couple of poor shots, it was Sarabjot who stepped up and covered for her. So that kind of teamwork, that kind of, in shooting, of course, you can't coordinate all these things because eventually you're alone in the range. But they did step up and, deliver under pressure, which is something Indian shooters haven't done in the past, recent past at least.
Right, of course. Mir, just before we let you go, I also wanted to get your opinion on Jaspal Rana. I mean, what kind of role did he play in Manu's win? I mean, he's one of those very fascinating figures in Indian shooting, kind of ostracized, came very close to, I guess, being an outcast, but then he's, by the sheer will of the things that he does or he gets the shooters to do, he's ensured that Manu has kind of won 2 medals at the same Olympics. Just talk to us about him. He's a slightly divisive figure, I guess.
Jaspal Rana, you guys will know, he is quite a character, to put it mildly. He's a legend in his own right, former world champion, former Asian Games champion, Asian champion too. He then delved into a career in politics. He fought elections for BJP. He's now with the Congress. सब कुछ किया उसने. He then eventually put a break on his active political career and turned to coach in 10 years ago and devised this program which gave, he's partly responsible. He was not the only person responsible, but which gave this great army of young shooters for India. And Manu Bhaker was one of them. They, as we all know by now, had a big falling out. Things patched up, but Jaspal was publicly kind of berated. The former NRAI president, Raninder Singh, called him a negative factor during the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. Earlier this year, apparently there was Jaspal alleged that the high performance director of Indian shooting asked him to leave the shooting range in Delhi because of some standard operating procedures. No one really talks to Jaspal. He's literally by himself. And he again claims that his name wasn't on the list to come here as a part of the coaching staff of the shooting team or as a private personal coach of Manu Bhaker. It was only when PT Usha, the IOA president, intervened, his name was added to the list last minute. So, and see, there are reasons. People have called him, a kind of, he's straightforward, he's straight shooter. When you talk to him about something, you don't know what kind of reply you'll get. And it might sound harsh. Sometimes he's speaking the truth, and truth often sounds harsh. So that's also one of the reasons why people might not be comfortable talking to him. But despite everything, I think Manu showed incredible maturity to go back to Jaspal. Everyone in her inner circle advised against it, but Manu had tried 4 different types of coaches and nothing was working for her. Her results weren't coming from her. And she eventually recognized that it was Jaspal with whom she clicked the most. And it was Jaspal who, quote unquote, made her feel happy and relaxed on the shooting range. And at the age of 21, she had that maturity to go back and patch things up for her own sporting career. And look where we are today.
Okay, well, that's all the time we are going to get from Mihir because, as you guys must have known, that he is in Paris right now, running around from one venue to another. On an average day, I believe he runs from anywhere between 3 to 5 venues, bringing us some of the best coverage of the Olympics that you are going to get. So you should go to indianexpress.com, check out his stories for a colorful flavor of everything that is happening in Paris. But if you also want a real-time update, your man is Vinayakk Mohanarangan, who is joining me. Vinayakk, welcome to Pod of the Rings. I'm sorry you've been waiting very patiently for a while now. What has, just for people who are maybe just listening to this and maybe haven't paid attention, what was the couple of things that maybe stood out for you yesterday? Obviously, Manu to tha, but besides that, agar kuch ho, ya fir even about Manu, something that maybe Mihir missed out?
No, yeah. I think Mihir, the sort of stuff that he's been writing and saying. So yeah, Manu and Sarabjot, it's all Mihir. So we'll look at the other stuff. And you asked me the question, but I want to come to you first.
Yeah, go on.
You live blogged the Dheeraj Bommadevara match. Apparently, it was interesting.
I think I'm starting to realize that I'm like a jinx. Whenever I live blog something, it goes to, because just before that I mean Jasmine wasn't मतलब last minute उसको धक्का मार के whatever weight class सब किया and all of that I understand, but I'm just saying that maybe मतलब I live blogged her, बिचारी हार गई, even though it seemed very clear that she had a height advantage. Then we had Dheeraj, and I mean, I like the one thing that you said, Vinayakk, in your inputs for the live blog. You know, we keep demanding that our athletes are perfect, especially our archers, because we keep thinking of them as perennial underachievers. But look at Dheeraj. There was a point where I think he shot 7 straight 10s, then he had a 9, which is why we went into a shoot-off. And then even in the shoot-off, he was competing against, I think, the world number 5, if I'm not mistaken, and Dheeraj is the world number 12. He shoots a 10, but only because the Canadian archer's arrow is closer to the center. And I know you want to talk about how closer, wo fine margins, kitna fine hai, wo, I know you want to talk about it. But I mean, just because of that, Dheeraj is going back home from his first Olympics. Vinayakk, you just want to talk about how slim these margins are at the elite level in Olympic sport?
Yeah, 2.4 centimeters apparently. That is what it comes down to. The distance between the two arrows was 2.4 centimeters. But yeah, there are other calculations and all that. But Dheeraj's arrow was, I think, around 50 or so millimeters away from the exact center. And this guy's arrow was around 30, radially speaking, 35 millimeters. But it is crazy, right? I mean, we're talking about millimeters and centimeters like it's small deal. It's basically ended Dheeraj's hope for a medal in the individual event. It's incredible to think that, you know, a guy who shot so well ended up losing because the other guy just went on to shoot 10-10-10 in the penultimate set, 10-10-10 in the last set, and a closer 10 in the playoff. The odds of that happening... So if you watch archery regularly, there is compound archery and there is recurve archery. These sort of 10s you see in compound archery because the bow is supposed to be more mechanical, the distances are shorter. It's compound archery. It's known for being so high scoring. I mean, you see Jyoti shooting 150 out of 150. You don't bat an eyelid, right? I mean, it's great, but it's not like mind-boggling. But to shoot 7 10s out of 7 is when you're losing the match. It's basically when he was losing the match, he comes up with this sort of shooting, the Canadian guy. And in that space, Dheeraj shot a 9. He matched the Canadian guy for every other arrow. And I could probably talk about this for the entire podcast. It just boggles my mind that, you know, that a guy who shot so well had his campaign end because of such crazy shooting. Well, I mean, not campaign end. He's still there in the mixed event. Let's just hope that, you know, he's able to bounce back. I am feeling like this. I can't imagine what Dheeraj must be feeling, right? I mean, athletes, what these guys go through.
Vinayakk, I think ये जो आने वाला generation है, I know I'm maybe giving our ages off or whatever, but ये जो 20-somethings teenage वाले athletes है अपने, they are slightly hardwired different is what I feel, you know. Because when we were doing the chess candidates tournament, you had that 17-year-old Gukesh who was winning all throughout. He goes on to lose. And then he goes on to say that, you know, I was the happiest when that happened because I knew I was winning. Like, I only lost out because of time. So, ये थोड़ा सा मतलब, I don't know, ये generation मेरे को थोड़ा सा अलग लगता है. It feels like they have a very different perspective on defeats or even wins.
Yeah.
I don't know, यार. अपना generation maybe सब कुछ black and white देखता होगा. These guys have nuances to that. But moving on, Vinayakk, I think you mentioned this fine margin. So I was just, we also have a very incredible piece written by our colleague Shashank Nair, who's written about how tiny the margins are in shooting, the world that Manu Bhaker inhabits, where, you know, 10 is considered semi-perfection because actual perfection is at 10.9. What's a 10.9, you ask? A 10.9 in 10-meter air rifle is basically a dot on a paper that you are supposed to target from 10 meters away. So it's that fine. Like it's literally maybe the seed of an apple se bhi chota. So it's that much of a fine margin theater that the Olympics shows us. I was also looking at gymnastics, just one tiny digression. I was looking at gymnastics and I was looking at, these gymnasts going up on the balance beams, doing all those somersaults in the air and landing on those things. Those things I realized today are literally 4 inches or 10 centimeters wide. That is the landing area for those guys when they are propelling themselves in the air, doing 3 somersaults or 2.5 somersaults and then landing on their feet. Like insane stuff that we are seeing at the Olympics. Maybe we just need to appreciate it slightly better. But moving on, because this is something that Vinayakk and I can probably talk for I don't know kitna time. Vinayakk, what else has kind of maybe, I don't know whether you want to still talk about today's events or you want to quickly transition to tomorrow's, what to look forward to tomorrow?
Very quickly, today's, so basically India won against Ireland in hockey, a 2-0 win.
Okay.
It was a very hard-fought win against a good, gritty Ireland side. Then there was heartbreak again for Amit Pangal. The Amit Society was let down by if you've been listening to our preview podcast, you would know what we're talking about. Amit Kamath here must be feeling a little disheartened because his namesake couldn't get out of the first round again. It was a tough bout. He couldn't find the magic that he needed. Jasmine also lost, like you mentioned. There was a very, very impressive win for Satvik and Chirag. I mean, we have to mention that. Two former world number ones playing against each other. They defeated the Indonesians, Alfian and Ardianto, 21-13, 21-13. Very, very impressive win. And because of that, they'll be topping the group, which is a very significant factor. They'd already qualified for semi-finals. Bhajan Kaur was another impressive name today. She did well in 2 of her archery matches and has reached the round of 16 in the individual event. So yeah, those were the quick highlights of the day. And looking forward to tomorrow. Amit, let's wrap this up, I guess, with tomorrow.
Yeah, I think tomorrow to we'll have a very pretty full schedule, but I don't think
there are no medal. Yeah,
we have any medal events, right?
It's probably not.
Yeah,
there is one medal event, which is the women's trap final. The qualification will finish in that event tomorrow. It's halfway through today, but it doesn't look like Shreyasi Singh and Rajeshwari Kumari are going to make it. They're quite far behind the top 6 that is required to make it to the final. So tomorrow the qualification will complete, but we can probably stick our neck out and say that's not likely to happen. So if that doesn't work out, then there are no medal events. But 50-meter 3-position rifle is something that we've been talking about a lot before the tournament began. The men's event is starting tomorrow with the qualification, so keep an eye out for that on shooting. The biggest match tomorrow, I think, the biggest event tomorrow, I think, for India is in badminton, where Lakshya Sen is going to take on the Indonesian world number 3, Jonathan Christie. Not sure if he's a world number 3, but he's a 3rd seed.
Yeah.
But that's like a one-way shoot-off between 2 extremely talented players for that one spot in the round of 16. So that's going to be a crazy, crazy match. Look out for that. Lovelina Borgohain is in action for the first time, a returning medalist. So that is there to look forward to. PV Sindhu is back. Deepika Kumari is in action. So a lot. Yeah, we have the schedule up on the page anyway, since we've taken up too much time today for the time that we had in mind. So I think we'll probably a good time to stop. Amit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all the time we've had for today. If you had half as much fun listening to us talk about the Olympics, then, well, we've had twice as much fun talking about the Olympics as you had listening to us talk about the Olympics, I guess. That tongue twister apart, thank you so much for listening. This is me, Amit Kamath, my co-host Vinayakk, and me here somewhere in France saying, au revoir. I don't know. I'll just say goodbye in English, man. We hope to see you back in the next episode. Till then, goodbye.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.